I had a great talk with a very dear friend of mine. We were talking about the heart of God and really how to feel that, how to experience it, how to know when God's speaking to you intimately, all of that. And it made me think a little bit about my own experiences in that area, and I thought it'd be a great thing to share with you. I've probably spent most of my Christian life not really uh, honestly hearing God. Now, that isn't to say that I didn't know what he wanted me to do through his word, through uh, external promptings, through a lot of things, but it wasn't one of those things that I really felt intrinsically inside. And I always tried to allow the Holy Spirit to move me and all of that. And I have to say that for a lot of years, it just wasn't exactly happening until. Um, I talk a lot about the homeless ministry that I'm involved with, and the homeless ministry isn't my day job, by the way. Sanctuary is, and that's where my heart is, and that's what I do, and that's where I really feel like I'd like to pour the majority of my energy into. The homeless ministry kind of started as a result of seeing a need and responding to it, and it's also become a very heartfelt thing. Um, I really have a heart for the homeless. My passion is more for metalheads, if that makes sense. Anyway, but I love the homeless ministry. But I have to say that I think it's done more for me than I have done for them. And we use that as kind of a cliche, but it's really true for me. I don't think anything taught me compassion and the heart of God more than this one. When I started feeding the homeless, I started out simply giving food. I thought that's a great thing to do, and it is. And that's what they needed to do. And I'd go home at night and think, I did a really good thing. I'm a good guy, you know. But it didn't stay there. I have to say that after a while, they really got under my skin in a good way. I started really feeling compassion, started really loving them a little deeper. Um, and every time I saw them and I saw their plight and I saw what they were going through, something supernatural started to happen. I began to feel God's compassion moving through me to them. It affected them, but it really affected me. And my prayer life began to change, honestly. Instead of it being a little more mechanical and Bible based, which is good anyway, I'm not saying it isn't, but I used to think, okay, I should pray the word and I should spend as much time listening as I can. But I didn't realize that I needed to spend a lot of time feeling as well. And so I started feeling and I started going into prayer and as I was praying, I started really being moved by faces, by people, by things. I felt the same compassion that I was feeling for the homeless under the bridge in my prayer life as well. And it wasn't just homeless people that were coming to mind, it was friends, it was people that I'd met, situations that would pop into my head, and that feeling, that compassion feeling from God would all of a sudden attach. And then I started feeling a little more compassion for my own life as well. Those areas that I struggle with. I started feeling God's compassion to help me in a very encouraging way to start to get through them. And I started really enjoying these times, and I still do. Folks, it's all about compassion, and I think that's a biblical mandate for a reason. Not necessarily that it helps those to whom we're compassionate to, but it really changes us. So I would have to say that the one thing that has helped me to get deeper to the heart of God, to feel His promptings, all of that has been emotional compassion, His love for other people, for Him, and for me. The homeless ministry. So, what am I saying? Does that mean that all of you need to go out and get involved in a homeless ministry? Yes. No. If that's what God leads you to, that's great, and I'd love you to do that. Man, I think that's the greatest thing. But it's anything. It's allowing yourself to be compassionate to people who honestly need your compassion, need it desperately. And so now when I feed the homeless, I realize it's really not about the food. It's about the hugs. It's about these guys that are hardened, but on the streets for a long time, that don't open up very much emotionally, coming over to me and hugging me. They're not huggers. You know, me saying, I love you, I care about you, how are you, you know, all of that. It's about my mom fixing comfort food. So when they come through the line, they say, this reminds me of my grandmother. This reminds me of my mother. Reminds me of home. Folks, all of this is really important. Really important. Not just for them, but for you. Because you see, the more we're compassionate for people that need God's compassion, and you're a conduit, He works through you. The Holy Spirit works from the inside out. The more you'll feel that compassion in your life all the time. It'll beef up your prayer life, if that needs beefing up. That was kind of a strange set of words to use for that, but it will. It'll enhance it, and it'll just change your life. That compassion that you feel really changes things. And so no longer do you kind of follow a strict regimen of trying to be the best Christian you can, but it's deeper than that. You begin to live a Christian life because you love it, because you love what God's doing through you. You begin to clean up your act with sin because you desire to, because it's no longer attractive, because your heart changes, your compassion changes. I've always said that the more you try not to sin, the more you sin. It kind of works that way. So you have to replace it with something, and God says replace it with love. Love, love, love. Love God, love your neighbor, love you. So, what are you doing to reach out? What are you doing to be compassionate towards people who need your compassion? Think about it today. God bless you. Have a great day.